All right, so here's the major question I asked last week. Are viruses living or not? Now, I told you scientists can't agree upon it, but I will tell you this. There is one group of scientists who is a bit larger in numbers in how they agree versus the other. And so, generally, what we can assume is most scientists agree that viruses are, drumroll please, not living. Why is that? Well, let's think about this. Some of you guys had really awesome arguments as I kind of scroll through your writing. We were really working on forcing ourselves to write nice paragraphs, which many of you, once I corrected you, you just stepped it right up and you went ahead and edited and gave me more information and are really pushing yourselves to write really nice, strong arguments. And so one of them that stood out to me was right here. I think that viruses are not living. I think it's because, for one, I don't think they have cells. And you know what? They don't have cells. They only have a piece of DNA. They don't even have a whole copy of DNA. They just have a piece of it. And without cells, you can't be alive. Absolutely true. Sure, they have lots of other characteristics of life, but you can't live without all seven. Correct. However, they do reproduce. They do move, but like we talked about, you can't live without all seven. Absolutely true. Now, let's talk reproduction. They can't reproduce on their own. They need you to reproduce. In fact, they don't even reproduce at all. You reproduce for them. So that's something to think about, right? That they don't even reproduce. In fact, they don't even grow because the little copies that are made of them are already adult sized. They're already permanent sized. So they don't grow. They don't reproduce. They don't even consume energy. That's right. They don't even consume energy. You make them and then they go and do their task and then they go and die off, or they build more and they don't die because, right, if you're not living, you can't die. So that brings to light this other idea. Clearly, we understand they're not living because they're not made of cells. They don't grow. They don't reproduce. They do adapt, though. That's why you have to have a flu shot every year. Do you know that flu shot you get every fall? It's because the flu vaccine or the flu influenza, that virus, it does adapt and change very often. And one of the reasons for that is that it's the ability to hijack your reproduction skills, right? Your ability to make new life with your cells. It happens so frequently and so often that a lot of times mistakes get made when it gets copied. And when those little mistakes get made, they send out, and then those new cells make the little mistakes just like the original that had the mistakes in it. And now we have a mutation, and now we have this new change. And so they do adapt, they do change for their environment. That's why you have to get a new shot every year. Okay, well, what else? Here's the problem with viruses, you guys. If I take a look at some viruses here, why are we so stressed about COVID? Right? Why are we so stressed about it? Well, let's think about it this way. If you had a bacterial infection, bacteria is absolutely 100% living. It is. So, if you had a bacterial infection, I could give you a medicine that's going to target the bacteria and kill it. And then we're good. How do you kill something that's not living? How do you do that? It's weird, right? I don't even know. There's no way to kill something that's not living, right? So, targeting a virus and killing it, well, it doesn't really work that way. A lot of times, the medicines we give people who have viral infections, we'll give them medicines to help with their symptoms. So, if your breathing is hard, we might give you something to open your airways a bit more. If you're getting a fever, we might give you some fever reducing medicine, but we don't necessarily have a medicine that's going to target the virus and kill the virus because, well, it's just not living. Now, some people argue, well, it's got enough of the characteristics that really, and it mutates and changes and it attacks and it does all these other things. So we think that it is living. And in science, sometimes we can be okay with that. We can be okay with this idea that what we know today might not be true tomorrow, right? The more information we gain, the better we understand in the future. So maybe they're right. Maybe it is living. But generally, most scientists agree it's not living. And that's why it causes so much trouble for doctors in treating viral infections is we can't kill it. Your body can develop an antibody to it to destroy it. So it can be destroyed, but it is a really complicated and difficult task to do. So Hopefully now you understand there's a big difference between bacteria, if you have a bacterial infection, and a viral infection. Now let's not worry about COVID. Let's just talk in general, like a cold, just a regular cold. If you go to the doctor, he's not going to do anything for you because it's usually a virus that's caused it. And you just have to tough it out and get better. But sometimes when you have a really bad runny nose and it's got green boogers and it's nasty, well, usually that's a sign it's a bacterial infection. And doctors will be able to treat that. They'll give you an antibiotic, which will kill off the bacteria that are causing all this nastiness. But generally, most colds, they don't give you medicine for because they're viral and they can't really treat them.